Hello, hi, I'm Shagufta K Iqbal, poet based in the UK. I've been invited to share some of my favourite books, ebooks on the British Council's e-library, and there were many choices. It was a very hard thing to do. The obvious choices were Khalid Hosseini, Margaret Atwood, and I'm a big Agatha Christie fan. But the ones that really stood out for me and I really wanted to talk a little bit about were the book, first and foremost, called Burnt Sugar, which was recommended to me by my friend Ziba Talgani, who does some really fascinating writing herself around mother-daughter relationships. And Burnt Sugar by Avni Doshi is one of those books that I think really beautifully examines from my perspective the relationship between mother and daughter, responsibility and obligation, and how love works, how freedom works. And it's been on my list of to read at home for a very long time, and I keep buying more books and adding more books to the list and not getting through everything. So it'd be great to catch up on this one on an ebook, to hear it read to me as well. I think that's a nice novelty. The other one that I'm really excited to select from this is The Bloody Chamber, which is embarrassing to say I have not actually read, because I'm a huge fan of fairy stories and myth and storytelling in that fashion. So to admit that I haven't read The Bloody Chamber is a bit of a letdown, but it's always been on my list of to read, and this is a good way to get round to being able to at least hear the stories. One of the other books that I'm really keen to listen to is The Runaways by Fatima Bhutto. I think growing up as a northern Pakistani, being Punjabi, Karachi is quite an interesting and fascinating city. We have some family links there, but I've only visited once to Karachi. And I like to visit it in fiction. One day I'll be able to visit it more regularly once the world's in a different place. So I was introduced to Karachi through novels, through the writing of Sarwat Hussain, and her book was This Wide Night. Beautiful book about sisters and relationships between sisters, and just Karachi itself is so alive and so real in her writing. So I feel like this will be a really good way to get another version maybe of Karachi, and The Runaways by Fatima Bhutto does that apparently very well. So I'm really looking forward to being able to read, hear, share the experience of Karachi in a different writer's world. Something that I'm really excited to get my ears onto is Key Miller's The Cartographer Tries to Map a Way to Zion. A few months ago I shared a space with Key Miller on Apples and Snakes, one of their online poetry sharings, and I'm in awe of his talent and skill, and the amount of wisdom in his writing and the amount of just thought that goes into it. And I think poetry is for me a very sacred space, and Key Miller does some incredible things with that, with his writing skills. So to be able to get that is wonderful, and I would highly recommend reading his work. And then finally is a book that I'm quite interested in. Is called Afsane by Kaveh Basmenji, stories by Iranian women. I'd love to learn more about Iran, and I always learn about countries through reading. So I think this is a really good way of being able to know Iran through the characters, through the people, and because it consists of many small short stories, I think it's a really good way of getting different perspective. And short stories that are just written well, I think are great because they're succinct and they're so poignant, and you can get addicted to reading through all of the collection quite quickly. So that is a quick run through of my selection of novels that are on the British Council e-library that I would recommend. I hope you get a chance to enjoy and go through them.